Respected viewer, there comes a moment in every human life when the silence inside becomes louder than the noise outside. A moment when the heart asks questions no one ever prepared us for. Questions about love, desire, connection, and the kind of intimacy that has nothing to do with the body and everything to do with the soul. If you've ever felt misunderstood, judged, or afraid to love boldly, then tonight this story is also your story. I want you to imagine a young woman standing in front of a mirror, not looking at her reflection, but looking at her history. She sees the choices she made, the mistakes she regrets, the moments she wishes she could rewrite. She sees the eyes of the world watching her, labeling her, defining her by chapters she has outgrown. But then she takes a breath, a deep, anchored breath, and whispers to herself, "My past does not own me. My future is still unwritten." That whisper is where real love begins. Because love, real love, is not a fairy tale. It is not born from perfection. It grows from honesty, healing, and self-respect. It grows from standing in your truth, even when the world tries to shrink you. And it grows from the courage to say, "I am worthy of a life that feels like freedom." Tonight's message is not about what society teaches us to chase. It's about what the soul actually needs. The psychology of love is not about attraction or lust or the temporary high of desire. It's about the way we hold ourselves when the world tries to break us. It's about the way we rise after heartbreak. It's about the way we learn to give without losing ourselves and receive without shrinking our worth. Let me take you back to a time when the idea of love was simple, when we believed that relationships were built on fate or destiny or some magical force that would carry us through life. But the older we got, the more we realized that love is not a miracle, it is a decision, a commitment, a daily act of choosing to understand another person while understanding ourselves. Human sexuality, too, is not chaos. It is not shame. It is not something to hide or fear. It's a language, one we are rarely taught how to speak. A language of connection, vulnerability, and identity. What society calls taboo is often just misunderstood. What society criticizes is often what society refuses to learn. Some people grow up believing that love must be earned. Others believe desire must be suppressed. But the truth is startlingly simple. Love is a mirror. It shows us who we are, who we pretend to be, and who we are afraid of becoming. And until we learn to look into that mirror without fear, every relationship will feel like a battlefield. I want you to remember something deeply. The greatest intimacy you will ever experience is not with another person. It is with the version of yourself you meet when you stop performing and start telling the truth. The truth about what you want, the truth about what you fear, the truth about what you deserve. This journey, our journey, is not about romanticizing love. It is about understanding it. It is about lifting the veil on human sexuality and looking at it not with judgment, but with compassion. It is about embracing the parts of yourself the world taught you to hide. Because the psychology of love is not found in textbooks. It is written in every scar, every memory, every lesson life gives us. So take a deep breath. Allow yourself to be here fully without distraction. Let the noise fade. Let the expectations fall away. Tonight, I am not here to preach. I am here to remind you of something we often forget. You are worthy of a love that does not ask you to apologize for who you are. And before this story continues, before we dive deeper into the heart of desire, vulnerability, connection, and the sacred power of being truly seen, I want to ask you gently, sincerely, and with respect, respected viewer, before we go deeper, I want you to prepare your heart for something many people spend their whole lives avoiding, the truth about themselves. Because the psychology of love is not actually about other people. It is about who you become when love enters, when love leaves, and when love changes you forever. There was a moment in my life when I thought love was something I had to fight for, something I had to earn, something that would only stay if I sacrificed enough pieces of myself. Maybe you felt that too, the fear that if someone truly knew you, they might walk away. So you pretend, you smile, you perform, you hide the parts of you that feel too complicated, too emotional, too overwhelming. And while you're busy trying to be enough, you slowly forget who you were before the world told you who to be. But love is never born from pretending. Love is born from truth. I learned this the hard way. I learned it in moments of heartbreak, in moments of loneliness, in moments when the world felt like it was collapsing around me. And in those quiet moments, I discovered something life-changing. The people who are meant for you are not attracted to the version of you that performs. They are drawn to the version of you that breathes. Human sexuality, too, is deeply tied to this authenticity. It is not about bodies touching. It is about hearts opening. It is about the emotional courage to say, this is who I am, without filters, without edits, without fear. But society rarely teaches us this. Instead, it teaches us to feel ashamed of our desires, guilty for our needs, and afraid of our own vulnerability. And yet, our desires are not the enemy. Our needs are not weaknesses. They are signals, messages, guides helping us understand who we are at our core. Think about this. Every time you feel drawn to someone, it reveals a part of you. Every time your heart breaks, it teaches you what you cannot tolerate anymore. Every time you fall in love, it shows you who you're becoming. Love is not an accident. It is a reflection. And sometimes the most painful relationships are the ones that teach us the most profound lessons. Not because they were healthy, but because they revealed the parts of us still waiting to be healed. The parts of us that crave attention instead of affection. The parts that mistake chemistry for connection. The parts that believe passion alone can sustain a relationship when honesty, trust, and emotional safety are nowhere to be found. There was a time when I believed I had to be strong all the time. That vulnerability would make me look weak. That sharing my truth would cost me respect. But the opposite happened when I finally allowed myself to be soft, to be honest, to say, this hurt me, or this is what I need, or this is who I want to be. I realized something. Strength without softness isn't strength, it's armor. And you can't build intimacy with armor on. The psychology of love teaches us that real connection begins the moment the armor cracks. When you stop trying to impress someone and start letting them see you. Not the polished version, not the edited version, the real unfiltered you. And sometimes that scares people away. But the ones who stay, those are the ones who matter. So if you are listening right now with a heavy heart, maybe because of a breakup or loneliness or a relationship that never felt balanced, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not too much. You are not too complicated. You are not unworthy of love. You are simply healing from a world that taught you to shrink. And from this moment forward, make yourself a promise that you will never again beg for the love you deserve, that you will never again give your heart to someone who hasn't earned your honesty, that you will protect the sacred parts of yourself until someone arrives who treats them with care. Love should feel like freedom, not fear. Desire should feel like connection, not confusion. And intimacy should feel like being seen, not being used. When you understand that, your entire life begins to change. Respected viewer, as we step into this next chapter, I want you to take a moment and breathe slowly, intentionally, deeply. Because what we're about to explore is the part of love most people run from, the part where we confront our past, our patterns, and the emotional habits that silently shape our relationships. Every person you've ever loved has left fingerprints on your heart, some gentle, some painful, some you wish you could erase. But here's the truth, most of us never learned. Growing up, the psychology of love is not just about the people you chose, it's about the reasons you chose them. Why were you drawn to someone emotionally unavailable? Why did you try to fix someone who never asked for healing? Why did you stay loyal to someone who didn't even stay honest with you? These aren't failures, they are mirrors, because human beings don't fall in love randomly. We are drawn to the familiar. We are attracted to what feels like home, even when home was built on instability, loneliness, or emotional distance. That is why so many of us repeat the same relationship cycles without even realizing it. We are trying to heal old wounds with new people. But here is the powerful shift. Once you become aware of these patterns, you gain the ability to rewrite them. There was a time when I didn't understand why I gravitated toward people who only loved me halfway. People who enjoyed the idea of me, but not the reality. People who were comfortable taking from me, but terrified of truly knowing me. And it took years of reflection, therapy, silence, honesty to understand that I wasn't choosing them because they were strong. I was choosing them because I was afraid of being fully seen. When someone loves you halfway, you only have to reveal half of yourself. When someone isn't emotionally available, you never have to risk true vulnerability. When someone keeps you at a distance, your own fears of intimacy never get challenged. It feels safer to be half loved than to be fully known. But half love is not love. It's emotional starvation disguised as comfort. Eventually, I reached a point where I realized something deeply important. The relationships we accept reflect the relationship we have with ourselves. When you believe you are worthy of gentle love, stable love, honest love, respectful love, you will never again settle for anything less. Human sexuality plays a powerful role in this. It is not just about desire, it is about how deeply we allow ourselves to connect. Some people use physical intimacy as a shield to avoid emotional intimacy. Others use emotional closeness to suppress their own needs and boundaries. But true intimacy, the kind that transforms your life, requires balance. It requires the courage to show not just your body, but your truth, your fears, your insecurities, your dreams. And perhaps the greatest test of intimacy is this. Can you sit with someone in silence and still feel understood? Can you speak your needs without apologizing? Can you express your desires without shame? Can you let someone see the wounds you've been hiding for years? Because Love that heals you is not loud. It is gentle. It doesn't rush. It unfolds. It doesn't demand. It listens. It doesn't confuse. It clarifies. You deserve someone who makes you feel safe enough to grow. Someone who sees not just who you are, but who you are becoming. Someone who respects your boundaries, honors your emotions, and inspires your evolution. And most importantly, you deserve a love that doesn't ask you to betray yourself. The psychology of love teaches us that the foundation of every powerful relationship begins with emotional safety. Without it, love becomes performance. With it, love becomes liberation. And if you've ever felt broken or unlovable or too much, I want you to hear these words with your entire being. You are not hard to love. You have simply been giving your love to people who did not know how to hold it. The moment you choose yourself, truly choose yourself, everything begins to shift. The partners you attract change, the boundaries you set change, the way you speak, love, desire, forgive, and grow, everything changes. And this is where the journey becomes beautiful. Respected viewer, as we enter this final chapter of the main script, I want you to imagine something with me. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a new beginning. Behind you is everything you've survived, every heartbreak, every mistake, every confusing chapter you once thought would define you forever. And in front of you is a path you've never walked before, a path where love feels different, where intimacy feels safe, where you no longer fear losing someone because you no longer fear losing yourself. This is where transformation happens. The psychology of love teaches us that healing does not begin when someone new enters our life. Healing begins when we finally understand ourselves and human sexuality, why all its complexity, beauty, and vulnerability becomes something sacred the moment we stop seeing it as a transaction of bodies and start seeing it as a connection of souls. For years, society conditioned us to believe that our worth is based on how desirable we are, how perfect we appear, how much pleasure we can offer. But the truth, one many people never learn, is that desire without emotional depth is empty. It doesn't fulfill us. It doesn't nurture us. It doesn't make us feel seen. What truly feeds the soul is being loved in our entirety, not just in our moments of confidence, beauty, or strength, but in our moments of fear, confusion, and fragility. Because real love is not impressed by your image. Real love is moved by your truth. There was a moment when I realized something that changed my life. Intimacy is not earned by looking perfect. It is created by feeling safe, safe to express, safe to be vulnerable, safe to say, this is what I want, this is what I fear, this is who I am, without worrying that honesty will cost you affection. When you reach that level of inner clarity, everything shifts. You stop chasing people who only offer half their heart. You stop trying to fix people who refuse to heal themselves. You stop romanticizing chaos and start valuing peace. You no longer confuse attention with love or passion with partnership or desire with commitment. You begin to crave something deeper, someone who sees not just your surface, but your soul. And here's the beautiful part. When you finally understand your emotional patterns, your wounds, your desires, your needs, you begin to attract people who align with your healed state, not your hurt state. You begin to welcome relationships that are rooted in mutual respect, emotional transparency, and genuine connection. Imagine a love like that, a love where you don't have to beg for clarity, a love where communication feels natural, not forced, a love where both people grow instead of shrink, a love where your body is honored, not objectified, a love where your heart is safe, not tested. And yet, even with all this clarity, the journey of love will never be perfect. You will still face misunderstandings, triggers, insecurities, and fears. But the difference is this. With the right person, even challenges feel like opportunities for deeper understanding. With the right person, love becomes a classroom instead of a battlefield. The psychology of love is ultimately the psychology of courage. The courage to love again after being broken. The courage to trust again after being betrayed. The courage to desire again after being shamed. The courage to choose yourself even when loneliness whispers your name at night. But here is something powerful, something people rarely say aloud. Choosing yourself is not selfish. It is sacred. Because when you choose yourself, you break generational cycles of unhealthy love. You teach your heart that it no longer needs to settle, and you elevate the standard for every relationship that will enter your life in the future. And someday, whether tomorrow or years from now, someone will come into your life who recognizes the depth of the work you've done. Someone who doesn't fear your intensity, your passion, your vulnerability, or your truth. Someone who meets your emotional depth with their own. Someone who doesn't just touch your body, they touch your life. This is the kind of love that strengthens you. This is the kind of intimacy that awakens you. This is the kind of connection that rebuilds you, and you deserve it fully, completely, unapologetically. But before any of that becomes real, there is one final lesson the psychology of love demands from us: the courage to let go, to release the people who drained you, to release the versions of yourself that were built out of fear, to release the beliefs that taught you to distrust your own heart. Because when you let go of what was never meant for you, you make space for the kind of love that always was. And now, standing here with you at the end of part 4, there is only one more step left in this journey, a final chapter, a conclusion that brings everything together, respected viewer. Before we close this journey, I want you to sit with one truth. Love is not something you find. Love is something you become. And the moment you begin to honor the deepest parts of yourself, you begin to attract relationships that honor you too. Everything you've heard tonight, every chapter of this story, every lesson, every moment of reflection, it all leads here, to this final breath, to this final truth, to this moment where you realize that nothing you've been through was wasted. Not the pain, not the heartbreak, not the confusion, not the desire, not the silence, every piece of it edge you into someone capable of deeper love than you ever imagined. Love in its purest form begins with awareness of your patterns, your wounds, your desires, your dreams, your fears, awareness of the ways you have abandoned yourself and the ways you are learning to come home again. And human sexuality stripped of shame is not something to hide, it is something to understand, something to honor, something to explore with truth, not guilt, with respect, not fear, with connection, not confusion. Because when you understand yourself emotionally, physically, spiritually, and intimately, you stop searching for validation outside yourself. You begin to give yourself the love the world refused to give you. Respected viewer, you deserve a love story that begins with your own heart. A love story where you no longer erase yourself to be chosen. A love story where you no longer apologize for your depth. A love story where you no longer silence your needs for someone else's comfort. A love story rooted in truth, courage, boundaries, clarity, compassion, and evolution. And one day, maybe sooner than you expect, you will meet someone who is not intimidated by your past, someone who sees your history as proof of your strength, someone who loves the layers of you, not just the highlight reel, someone who wants to understand your mind, not just touch your body, someone who makes you feel safe in a way you've never experienced before, someone whose presence feels like exhaling. But whether or not that person has entered your life yet, I want you to remember this: you are already whole, you are already worthy, you are already enough. No relationship can complete you because you are not missing anything. Love does not fix what is broken, it reveals what is beautiful. So take a moment right now and place a hand on your heart, even if just in your mind, and whisper this "Oh yourself, I am worthy of a love that feels like peace. I am worthy of a love that honors my truth. I am worthy of a love that chooses me every day, not just when it's convenient." This is your declaration. This is your rebirth. This is your beginning. As you walk forward from this video into the quiet spaces of your life, carry this message with you. Choose yourself first, not out of selfishness, but out of self-respect. Because the way you love yourself sets the tone for how the world will love you. And when you are finally ready, truly ready, to receive the kind of love that aligns with your healed heart, it will arrive. Not as a storm that destroys you, but as a sunrise that awakens you. Until then, keep learning yourself, keep honoring yourself, keep loving yourself, because the greatest love story of your life begins with you. Thank you for sharing your time, your mind, and your heart with me tonight.